to cost our schools $250 million a year in funding cuts if this goes through, as well as a up to 40% reduction in the revenues available for the renewal of our Regional Transportation Authority here in Pima County and the renewal of Prop 400 up in Phoenix. This is something that could be an utter disaster for the people of Arizona. And the folks who are voting starting this week need to know exactly what this is about. So we have a great diverse group of people here today. I've been honored to lead this coalition, and I have at the table people from all over the political spectrum, from the Koch brothers on the right to the public sector unions on the left, and they're all working together to try to kill this thing. So we have an example of that diversity today. Steve Christie would have been here, our supervisor, but the Board of Supervisor meeting is running long, so he's not able to show up, but he is strongly against Prop 126 as well. But the first person who will come up and speak is our mayor, Jonathan Rothschild.
All right, well, I'm here today to urge folks to vote no on Proposition 126 and really to say no to a policy that favors one sector of our economy over all others and putting really even greater pressure on our existing tax base, which is retailers and homeowners. What Prop 126 would prohibit hasn't been proposed in Arizona, where it's already difficult, incredibly difficult, to create any new tax that increases state revenue. It could require either a 2/3 or a 3/4 vote of both chambers of the legislature. Proposition 126 is unanimously opposed by the Executive Committee of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. And the League of Arizona Cities and Towns is all the cities, 92 cities and towns in Arizona. The Executive Committee is 25-member body whose membership really does span the political spectrum, but probably leans a little Republican and conservative. And by a unanimous vote, the League of Cities and Towns voted to oppose this. So why do traditional supporters of limited taxes oppose Proposition 126? It doesn't take into account what the future may bring. The service sector of our economy is growing. The retail sector of our economy is shrinking. And if the service sector continues to grow and the retail sector continues to shrink, and if government wants to continue to provide essential services, we may at some point need to look at different ways of raising revenue. And that would potentially include looking at a strong and growing sector of our economy, the service sector. And in other states, they've looked at that and been able to use that sometimes to reduce income tax, to reduce property tax. I think Minnesota may be an example of that. Good tax policy strives to create low rates that have the least impact on all taxpayers. And to do that, taxes need to come from a broad tax base. Proposition 126 would hamstring policymakers from achieving that goal, and it would do it constitutionally. Prop 126 would also prevent state and local governments from being able to lower property or sales tax by replacing that revenue with a modest tax on services. So for all of those reasons, I urge everyone to vote no on Proposition 126. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And Judy, if you want to introduce yourself and where you're from and share your thoughts.
Thank you. My name is Judy Wood, and I'm the CEO of Contact One Call Center, which is a service business, and I am very much opposed to Prop 126. I know that we are inching towards a bigger and bigger service-based economy, and I think to eliminate that entire section from our tax base is not something we should do. I think it also ties the hands of our legislators to make sound policy decisions based on the needs of the state and community. Thank you very much.
Bruce, you could say who you are and where you're from as well.
Hello, I'm Bruce Dusenberry, and I am here speaking as a member of the Board of Directors of the Southern Arizona Leadership Council. That is Southern Arizona's largest business leadership group, composed of businesses employing tens of thousands of employees in our region. I'm also the former owner of a moving and storage business, which is a service business, which would of course, be subject to service taxes. So I understand the concerns of business owners, as do all of our members at SALC. And I couldn't say more clearly that this is a very terrible proposition that all Arizona voters should be voting no on it. As the mayor and other speakers have said, this has got bipartisan opposition, both Republicans and Democrats. Both our gubernatorial candidates, Governor Ducey and Governor Ducey, and also gubernatorial candidate Garcia. Both of them are opposed to this proposition because it's really a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. It's a solution in search of a problem, because we already have a legislation that's passed, or propositions have been passed by voters that require a 2/3 to a 3/4 majority vote to impose taxes. There is no plan, no legislation out there that our legislature has put forward to increase taxes on services. It's just a preemptive thing, and it's being put in the Constitution, which is a terrible place to put tax policy. We should let our legislature take care of tax policy. So in so many ways, this would be bad. It would tie our hands for the future as service industries are growing, and it's something we should all vote no on this proposition.
Thank you. Lucy, if you'd like to say who you are and where you're from.
My name is Lucy Messing. I am from the Arizona Education Association, and we did take an official position of no on Prop 126. This would hurt education funding, specifically because of the renewal of Prop 301, which is up in 2020. And because it will be a new tax, because it's being renewed, therefore it will be under the guise of Prop 126, and that's where we find the $250 million that will be lost to funding. And what Prop 301 does, it does have a allocated funding specifically for teacher salaries. In addition, it helps with resources, books, the supplies that teachers need. Prop 301 is vital to education, and therefore it will be impeded as far as the funding that will come from that due to the reauthorization of 301. We are still below about $900 million in funding before 2009, so we're not even close to catching up with funding for public education, and therefore it's important that we do not allow anything to infringe on any funding that could go to public education. We know that our schools have been starved. There has been a slight boost in the last few years. Thank you, Red for Ed. And I think that that has made a huge difference. So we are hoping that everyone will vote no on Prop 126 and allow our public schools to have a chance to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. And George, if you could say a few words. Introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. My name is George Cunningham. I'm the chairman of the Grand Canyon Institute, which is one of two think tanks that have joined with this group to oppose, or at least to reveal the facts with regard to this particular measure. We recently produced the Grand Canyon Institute produced a comprehensive research publication that can be that is available to everybody online on our website, grandcanyoninstitute.org. The passage of this measure, in terms of the overall findings, the passage of this measure will drastically diminish the dollars available for education and transportation of any funding source that is subject to renewal by either the legislature or the voters. That is sort of the bottom line on this. Having served in the legislature for 8 years, I can tell you that this measure is not necessary. It's not necessary because there are now very stringent taxpayer protection measures built in. Proposition 108 requires a 2/3 majority for any increase in taxes. In order to get that kind of an increase or that kind of a majority, you basically have to have unanimous agreement amongst the members of the legislature, both the House and the Senate. This is an added protection that is not warranted or needed. This is also extremely short-sighted. It's short-sighted because of what it does is it undercuts the ability of the legislature and the voters, ability to engage in real tax reform, to look at the possibilities of expanding. Not necessarily this is not necessarily the singular opportunity for changing the revenue structure of Arizona, but if you were to include some services, not all, but include some services in the tax base of the sales tax base, you could then lower the rate. And by lowering the rate, you could benefit all businesses that currently provide goods that are subject to the sales tax base. The GCI report analyzes the potential impact on the ability of all levels of government to provide essential services, including education and transportation. All of the information that is provided indicates that this would be a very bad decision for Arizona. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here. And just to sort of sum things up, this initiative, as put forward and written by lobbyists for a particular industry, would damage all of us. This would gut our school funding by $250 million a year for public schools, and you know that is the #1 issue that we're seeing this year in this election. People's eyes may glaze over when they hear about finances and government finance in particular, but their eyes won't be glazing over when they find out that their schools are going to be cut by another $250 million. Their eyes won't glaze over when they find out that those regional transportation plans like our RTA are going to take in 40% less money than we were told they were going to take in, and then we're going to have to suffer those potholes more and more. Our governments at every level provide basic public services we need. And ironically, it's realtors that need these services more than anything else to sell their products. They need good roads, they need good police and fire, they need good schools, they need good parks, and all these things we put at risk if Prop 126 passes. So I know a lot of realtors who are also opposing Prop 126. This is something we can all come together to take down so that we can move forward and actually lower our tax rates, as we heard today as well. There's a lot we can do together to be able to fix our revenue structure while providing the services we need. And the first step we need to take is voting no on Prop 126. We can get it done. We have a broad range of people who are allied with us to make that happen, and we're hoping the voters are going to listen as well. So thank you for being here today, and we're happy to take any questions you might have for anybody who spoke today.
I'd like to just hang out and do a one-on-one.
Okay, we'll do one-on-ones afterwards. You want to? Joe, anything? We're good? Okay, well, thank you for being here today. Let's go no on 126. Second. Okay, thank you.